Good morning, fabulous one. It's a new day of the week. I hope the weather will be better. I'm in North Carolina, but where I am at, I am very lucky that everything in my neighborhood was okay. Last week we had to deal with Hurricane Helena. And I think a lot of people now are also dealing with the aftermath of that. Because Mother Nature ain't no joke. Mother ain't no joke. And so this morning I woke up very early, around 5:30. And I watched some videos on social media about the rise of the divine feminine energy and womb activation, and different women saying the same thing about how women are collectively waking up to who they really are, activating their womb energy and reinstating the divine feminine energy on planet Earth. The only thing that is constantly tripping me up that I don't agree with is that they speak from a place of separation. They come to the realization that the divine feminine energy within them has to rise at the expense of the divine masculine energy. This is spirituality 2.0. We are oscillating right now between spirituality 101 and spirituality 2.0. Collectively, yes, women are rising the divine feminine energy. But this is not the end game. The end game is not about rising the divine feminine energy. There is a third and final phase, which is spirituality 3.0. Human 3.0. And this episode, I want to talk about phase 3, total transformation, spirituality 3.0, what it is, and becoming human 3.0, which is basically the equivalent of saying 5D. And in this episode, we're going to dive deep because I don't hear this a lot. And I feel that my ideas are very out there. They're very foreign to many people's ears. They haven't heard the story like this. But I think it's my personal belief that this is where we're headed towards. And women like myself who are now becoming 5D, mothers who are waking up to 5D consciousness, are the ones who are going to form the bridge from spirituality 2.0 to spirituality 3.0. So let's get started. Welcome to the 5D Mom podcast, where I share my spontaneous musings about self-mastery. These episodes are on the go, just like two friends talking on the phone. My name is Janice Nelson. I am the author and founder of Fabulous One Philosophy. I help you make bliss your default state and become her by giving yourself permission to shine so you can see your beauty from within. I'm using words in the hope that it will resonate with you. But in the words of Terence McKenna, the world is made of words. And when you know the words the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish. And I guess I'm on this quest myself to find words. To find the words that resonate with you. Because the words and the story, it's clear in my mind. It's clear within me, in my essence, in my being, in who I am, how I stand in this world, and how I operate, how I behave, how I act. I am the embodiment of what I speak about. But teaching it is a whole nother different level. That is my personal journey right now, becoming the great teacher. I am moving from self-master to the great master teacher. This is a journey. I don't expect it to happen within a month. What I'm talking about is going to be my own evolution in a decade, maybe 20 years. I still got time. So I definitely have another 20, maybe even 30 years in me that I would love to be a teacher. Maybe after 30 years I retire. I have no idea. Maybe I don't. In my heart, I don't see retirement for me happening at all in the traditional sense. I see myself teaching until the day I die. This is what I really truly want to do in my heart. Teach. And so I've seen her. I've seen her in my mind's eye, and I now gave myself permission to move towards becoming her. So this is my personal journey, to go from self-master to the great master teacher. But in the meantime, I've completely mapped out the journey from mother, from, in my situation, in my case, stay-at-home mom, to self-master. Now, you don't have to be a stay-at-home mom, but you do have to be a mother, because something special happens to you when you become a mother. Your womb activates. This happens naturally with us women as we age. It doesn't really matter if you have a child or you don't have a child, but the process happens a lot faster when you become a mother. And because the process happens faster, it also brings in a lot of chaos and confusion to who you are becoming. That's why we mothers often speak about feeling lost, not feeling ourselves anymore. And that's correct. You are transitioning from your old self to the new self. Motherhood is the transition. Becoming a mother is the initiation, and then the whole process of motherhood is the transition of you going from the old self to the new self. The old self, we could say, is spirituality 101. The transition is spirituality 2.0, which is mother energy, womb energy. And spirituality 3.0 is the new self, total transformation. So there is an ascension happening, and that ascension will reach its peak in spirituality 2.0. And then there is a descension happening, which allows you to go towards spirituality 3.0 and become the 5D mom. Once you've been initiated at the level of spirituality 3.0, your mind is free to create her life on earth how she sees fit. You will no longer operate from a dual consciousness. Your mind will become non-dual, and it will allow you to create a blissful life. You will no longer worry about labels. You will no longer worry about status. But you will be fully immersed in your 3D reality. Meaning that everything 3D Earth has to offer you will want to now investigate it, explore it, deepen your knowledge. You start to see the world from a completely different perspective, and everything becomes beautiful. There's no more option to be bored. That completely vanishes, because you can now truly see the miracle that Earth is. And there are so many fascinating things happening on Earth that you could not even for a moment entertain this idea that life is boring. So if you are at that stage, or in that state where you feel you are caught up in the day-to-day routine of life, where you feel that there's nothing exciting happening, but you hear that inner call, which actually exacerbate the feelings of boredom or life being boring, then you are in transition in spirituality 2.0, and now you gotta make it to the other side, which is spirituality 3.0, and become 5D. Otherwise you will lose your mind. And this is what I want to talk about, because I see a lot of videos online about women speaking about rising the divine feminine energy without actually giving it context. So I don't know, because very often our videos nowadays are short, right? Nobody has the stomach to sit and listen for an hour or watch an hour of a video, somebody explaining the universal laws and universal principles, I guess. Well, maybe on YouTube, but then it depends who you are, and it depends for what reason you connect to it, because I've noticed that a lot of these teachers online who speak about ancient philosophy and using universal principles, as long as they speak to you in order to help you reach an end goal, people are more than willing to listen. So if you can use universal principles and the law of attraction to manifest, people are willing to listen. But when it comes to changing who you are at the core and being more in alignment and in union with your higher self, I don't see it tracking a lot on social media. And that has to change, really. I am not changing my core message, because I can clearly see as soon as you start talking about manifesting something, women are incredibly interested. But this is also the problem, that if the whole focus of rising your divine feminine energy is because you need to get stuff, it's because you need to manifest things, it's because you want that quote-unquote high-value husband, or you want to have that $1 million business, and now you're using spirituality in order to align yourself with that frequency or vibration, it is short-lived. It is short-lived, and you'll find out soon enough. I don't have to stop you from going that route. Life will show you. You will be met with a level of resistance. Even when you're successful, even when things are going your way, even when you find that amazing husband, even after you got married, there's always entropy coming your way at the same level of your vibration. So if you are eager beaver to move to a higher frequency because you want to manifest, be careful what you wish for, because your wish will come true and you will be able to manifest. But what you cannot anticipate is what's going to happen after that. And maybe not a lot of women are in that position, because a lot of women are still in spirituality 101, where they are still healing themselves. They're still trying to figure out how to survive in this world. And there's no judgment. There's never judgment when I speak. This is me just stating the obvious and just saying it like it is. There is no judgment, because as soon as we apply judgment, it will create separation. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't speak about it honestly. That doesn't mean we shouldn't say the words out loud, because only what we are willing to say out loud is what we can consciously change. Only what we are willing to acknowledge is what we are able to consciously change. So women in spirituality 101, they are in survival mode, they are suffering, they feel broken, and they want to heal themselves. And they should. Full stop. But when you become a mother, you initiate phase 2, spirituality 2.0, which is the rise of the divine feminine energy. So in phase 2, the divine feminine energy will start rising faster than in phase 1. Because in phase 1, you weren't really ready for that yet. But in phase 2, the divine feminine energy will start rising faster. And you will start feeling that rise, but you have no concept of what is happening. You have no ability to place it somewhere in your experience or in your psyche. So the feeling will really come across as being lost, and especially also feeling very overwhelmed with life, very overwhelmed with the tasks at hand, very overwhelmed with motherhood, because your mind is going to look for something physical in order to help herself understand why she feels the way she feels. And so she's going to connect the dots by saying, well, ever since I became a mother, I feel very overwhelmed with emotions. So it must be motherhood. It must be the fact that I became a mother that now makes me feel no longer myself. It's a half-truth. Yes, because you got initiated, activated at a faster speed when you became a mother. It's a call to restore your connection to the Great Mother. But this activation happens regardless whether you become a mother or not. Because these are the 3 phases of the female's hero's journey. Phase 1, maiden. Phase 2, mother. Phase 3, master. And so, all I do with Fabulous One Philosophy, everything I teach is about phase 3, mastery. Phase 3, spirituality 3.0, total transformation. So I understand that my teaching, my words, my stories, in this time that we're living in today, we're now in 2024, is probably just for a select few who hear the call. The rest of them, they will just say, I'm a mad woman. And I've already made my peace with that. I've already accepted to be the fool. Because you have to give yourself permission to look foolish before you can become fabulous. On a global scale, what is happening right now is absolutely beautiful and magnificent where women are collectively rising the divine feminine energy. This is very conducive in phase 2, spirituality 2.0. This will help a lot of women finally see themselves from a higher perspective, and it will allow them to organize themselves in a way that 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we women weren't able to do. So everything is happening for the betterment of us all. But where I want to get to is spirituality 3.0. Because when you become 5D and you can see from the conscious universe, you can see through the eyes of the universal mind, you can see the writing on the wall. You can see where this is headed. Initially, when the divine feminine energy rises, it will feel great. It will feel wonderful. It will feel like a true awakening, which it is, because the phase 1 is the small awakening and the phase 2 is the big awakening. Now, if you're wondering, like, how am I using these terms so loosely and how do I come up with all these terms and terminologies and the labels that I'm using, you can read my book, Inside the School. There is a free PDF of the book. You will have the complete teaching that I've put down. On top of that, when you register inside my school, you can look at the Fabulous One vocabulary, which is a complete in-depth diagram that I have created for you with all the references of all the labels that have been created in our human history, going from ancient philosophy to Taoism, but also taking into account some more modern sciences like Dr. Sigmund Freud and Dr. Carl Jung. And I have put it all together in a diagram for you to have this complete overview of all the words that I'm using. And I did that on purpose so that I can speak freely to you here in this podcast. But if you really truly want to follow along and you really want to understand what I'm talking about on a deeper level, you have to register for my school and then just download or copy the Fabulous One vocabulary, and then you can see where the words are coming from and the context. Your context now will then be greater to what I'm trying to put down here, to what I'm trying to do. Very often, people with very limited level of consciousness, with a low level of consciousness, they won't even have the stamina. Women in spirituality 101, they don't have the stamina because they're still focused on trying to figure out why the people in their lives are behaving the way that they do, what they did wrong, and finally coming to the understanding and realization they didn't do anything wrong, that people are just the way they are, and that they have to now start incorporating better boundaries in order to protect themselves from other people who are unwilling to change and who will want to remain on that lower level of consciousness. So that is the transition going from phase 1 to phase 2, spirituality 101, the small awakening, where you start to come into that realization where you want to be better, you want to do better, but you still think that you have to take everybody with you. You still have this idea that can't we all get along? Why can't we have the conversation? Why can't we just work this out? Why can't we be better if we have the awareness that there is better? And then you realize that many people, men and women, they just don't want to be better because they can't see what you see. They don't know what you know. They can't see what you see. They don't want to go to spirituality 2.0. And yeah, we can use fictitious numbers. I have no idea what the real numbers are, but let's just say hypothetically, 80% of the people will always remain in spirituality 101. And those people are happily occupied with all the drama that is happening in the world. It keeps them so busy and distracted that looking into their inner world and connecting to their higher self and becoming 5D is like a fairy tale to them. That this sounds like the most ridiculous, stupidest thing ever. And please stop talking to you. And please stop talking to them about it, because they're going to just declare you crazy. There's nothing within themselves that's going to inspire them, motivate them to now look into something that they have never heard of. They're just going to look at you and think you need to go somewhere. Which you will. You will go somewhere. You will move away from them. And that's when you are in spirituality 2.0, when you move away from them, when you start really doing your inner work, when you start really tapping into rising the divine feminine energy. And that's when you are also going to be met with a lot of women online who are claiming to be doing the same, but what they're actually doing is rising the dark feminine within. Now, we can argue that whether you walk left or whether you walk right, the whole design of the conscious universe is for you to walk yourself off the cliff. So it doesn't matter if you take a left or if you take a right. Doesn't matter if you choose to rise the divine feminine energy or you choose to rise the dark feminine energy. Because from the soul's perspective, the soul is kind of sarcastically laughing like, haha, you're going to fall off the cliff no matter which direction you go. And spirituality 3.0 is when you realize that, and when you learn how to fly. When you realize that this thing you call ground is not really ground. It's you just having the idea that you are standing on something solid, that you are grounded. But even science is already now explaining to us, or trying to explain to us, but if you are moving towards spirituality 3.0, you will have more ears for that. Science is saying that what we consider physical reality is predominantly, I don't know the exact percentage, but it was a very high percentage in the 90s. It might be even 98% empty space. I would have to look that up to verify, but what we consider physical reality is mostly 95% empty space and 5% is physical. And the reason why we experience it as physical is because my finger and the table, when they touch, it creates a resistance. And so that's why I can touch physicality. This is a brilliant design. The architect of this world, of Earth, of the universe, is brilliant. But I don't want to have a discussion who created us, because that's a debate we're never going to agree upon. So let's just drop that debate altogether. That's not what Fabulous One philosophy is about. To discuss who the creator is and why we are here and what we are. We call ourselves human beings, but we can have this endless debate. You can see it online, right? That we are constantly just discussing what we are. Are we aliens? Are we children of God? What are we, right? And this debate, I don't know how we're going to solve it, in all honesty, because this is not brain power that I'm spending. All my brain power is allocated to self-mastery. So my whole focus is, these are the constants in our lives, and this is a given, and this is what it is, and this is what I'm working with. And then I have all the variables that are constantly redirecting me and changing me in and moving me into a different direction. And how do I master these variables? The electrons, because the electrons are constantly appearing and disappearing and appearing and disappearing, you know, science. I mix and match a lot of things. I mix and match old philosophies, teaching, psychology. I just use whatever I feel suits the purpose of bringing Fabulous One philosophy to the forefront. You can fault me on that. You can say that's not right. You can say you're not allowed to do that. But I am not someone who needs to adhere to any scientific community or follow any rules. So in that sense, yeah, you could call me a heretic, but I think that's what's necessary now in the world in order to break this chain, break this mental box that we are in, and expand to the level of the conscious universe, and then create a new box. And so that's what spirituality 3.0 is about. When you rise the divine feminine energy in spirituality 2.0, you're basically breaking the box. Now, what is the box? The box is the divine masculine energy. And so by rising the divine feminine energy, there's a flood coming in. And the flood basically breaks all barriers, breaks the dam. Start to sound familiar? It breaks the dam. And so now our conscious mind, the mind that is in charge of order, has been broken. And so this is when we feel chaotic. This is where we feel out of control. This is why we feel lost. But if you listen to all these divine feminine energy coaches out there who truly believe they're doing the right thing. But that's the thing, right? What is that amazing saying? I love that saying because it's so true. The pathway to hell is paved with good intentions. So yeah, there's good intentions. I do believe that. I do believe that the women now that call themselves feminists, the women that are wanting to empower women publicly on their platforms, they don't have malicious intent. They are not doing it to derail you on purpose, but it is a derailment. And my initiation to waking up to the universal mind has come with a clear message of change the timeline, change the path, because the way we're headed right now is towards extinction. And if we want to change that path, it has everything to do with the rise of the divine feminine energy and knowing that that is a transition, not the final phase. So where spirituality 2.0 feminine coaches stop is to say that, well, we're now going to change patriarchy into a matriarchy. And then if we women become the natural leaders of planet Earth or the heart-centered leaders of the world, we will create a better place, or we will create a safer earth. And as beautiful as that sounds, and of course everybody wants to believe that in their hearts, is that we do not take into equation that the opposite always has to exist at the same time. So if we are now collectively creating this superwoman on Earth, that means that the supervillain must exist at the same time. And she will come in the form of the dark feminine energy. And that is an energy right now that I see, this has been my assessment, a lot of women have no answer for. They just deny that she exists or that she's there, even though in all the ancient philosophical teaching, they speak about Maya. Who is Maya? She is the dark mother, the mother of illusion. They speak about Kali. Who is Kali? The ego slayer. So there have been many dark female goddesses of the past that have been documented that will come once we initiate the rise of the divine feminine energy. And I feel that women are putting their blinders on, and that's where they become also malicious, aka dark, because their intention, the group of the dark feminine energy, their intention is to just get rid of patriarchy, get rid of it so it can be replaced by matriarchy, and then ushering in matriarchy under the disguise of it being feminine. And when you connect to spirituality 3.0 and you go through the total transformation and you reinstate 5D consciousness, you will know that that's a Trojan horse. You will know that that is not real. You will know that the matriarchy, in the way that women are trying to usher it in, as if it's going to be something better that is going to replace patriarchy, is an illusion. It's just the same thing. It is still in the domain of the divine masculine energy, even though we have given it a feminine label, a feminine word, doesn't make it the divine feminine energy. So we are basically masking patriarchy under this label called matriarchy, but it's still the patriarchy. We didn't change anything. We didn't transform anything. We just gave it a different name and a different label, but now it's going to happen from a higher level of consciousness, from a higher frequency, because collectively we are rising the divine feminine energy. And when you are connected to spirituality 3.0, 5D consciousness, you will really see, feel, embody feminine energy as the all. You will know that the feminine energy is the all. There is no separation. The feminine energy, the divine feminine energy, is the whole. So what makes it appear separate is the divine masculine energy. And when you understand patriarchy at its core, at its essence, at the level of 9D, the primordial yang, Christ consciousness, King consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and I call it bliss consciousness. Initially, I wanted to call it Janus consciousness because I found out that there is this Greek mythology where they called the father of time Janus consciousness, but you just write it different, Janus. It's different than my name. My name, you write it different. So you could say my name is the divine feminine energy and Janus, Janus, is the divine masculine energy, which makes sense. But then later on, I was like, no, that's a little bit too much. That's a little bit, too much self-inflating ego happening over here. But I did enjoy figuring that out, or just it came into my awareness, because once you start asking the right questions, you can use Google in order to get to answers. And so I don't know what questions I was asking at the time, but then Google told me that, hey, there is this thing, there is this understanding of Janus consciousness. I was like, what? Wait, what? What? Janus consciousness? No, this can't be real. And this is for me, again, another sign of the universe trying to let me know that I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right thing, and that I just have to have faith and just keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, for a moment, for a split second, I had this idea to call it Janus consciousness, because I want to move away from this label called Christ consciousness, because otherwise we'll fall into the trap of all wanting to become religious, and that's not what philosophy is about. Krishna consciousness, basically the same thing, but then you go more towards the east, which is Indian philosophy. Cosmic consciousness, yeah, I don't think it really makes you feel like happy on the inside when I say cosmic consciousness. Janus consciousness, you have no clue or idea what I'm talking about. You just think I'm going to be full of myself. And what else is left? And then you also have the word consciousness on its own, which is used a lot, extensively with Indian sages like Nisargadatta Maharaj, who speaks of consciousness. You are consciousness. But I don't understand from which context he is speaking it, because the way I have understood teachings from these Indian sages, they mean to say that consciousness is the highest state of awareness, or the highest state you can reach, which, according to my philosophy, is not true. The highest state you can reach is the universal mind, which is the great mother, which is 11D, which is the Tao. That is the highest state as a woman you can reach. And that will allow you to usher in consciousness. So in the Fables of Philosophy, consciousness is a dimension lower than the Great Mother. So that's why when I listen to Indian sages speak about consciousness, to me it feels a little bit confusing. It makes sense from a man's perspective, because when you are connected to 5D, you will understand that the man, a physical human man, cannot go further than 9D. Because 9D is when consciousness was born from the womb, from the universal womb. And that's why consciousness does not remember who she is, because consciousness is not necessarily a male word. It is used in the context of whoever is used. It becomes whoever is using the words. It becomes that gender, so to speak. So if I am using it and I identify as a female, then consciousness is also feminine in that context. But to make it make more sense, and so I will refer to consciousness when I'm speaking about myself as a her, but if I would be speaking to a man about his consciousness, I would refer to him, I would refer to it as a him, but that's just to help you contextualize and give it a place in your mind. So everything I'm doing right now is to help you visualize and make the intangible tangible. I might be going about it right now in a complicated way because I'm still trying to find the words. Give me another 5 years and I will be able to probably simplify it in so much easier. But like I said before, this is the journey I'm going through myself, going from self-master to the great master teacher. So I need to learn also how to convey the message. And the more feedback you give me and the more you talk to me about how you perceive my messages, what you think is very clear, what you think is not clear, will allow me to become more specific and more to the point and help you reach spirituality 3.0. That is my whole purpose, for you to reach spirituality 3.0. Because what's going to happen now with so many women oscillating, transitioning in spirituality 2.0, they're going to break the dam, break the divine masculine energy container, which is order, but don't know how to replace it with the highest form of the divine masculine energy, which is bliss consciousness, cosmic consciousness, Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and usher that back in. So basically, patriarchy becomes the peace matrix. That's the best way for me to explain it. So it's not about getting rid of patriarchy. the matrix of patriarchy becomes the matrix of peace. And once we usher in, reinstate the matrix of peace, maybe later on I will come up with a better word, but this is what initially the first words that come up in my mind. When we make patriarchy, the matrix of patriarchy, into the matrix of peace, now we can tap into our creativity. Now we can tap into our imagination. Now we can create heaven on earth. Because getting rid of something, in this case patriarchy, is just going to allow for more chaos to flow in. Because that's Maya. That's the dark mother energy. More chaos will come in. So when we women restore our connection to the Great Mother, become 5D, and we can see from that non-dual mind, we will welcome patriarchy because we know its true nature. Patriarchy is the matrix of peace. We've just labeled it patriarchy because right now it's ruled by unconsciousness. And so Spirituality 2.0 is about making the unconscious conscious, but spirituality 3.0 is about making the conscious unconscious again. And so what does that mean? It means that in spirituality 3.0, we're going to make the peace matrix, the matrix of peace, the norm. So that when we bring more children into this earth, into this world, they are raised in the matrix of peace, not in the matrix of patriarchy. And when you are raised in the matrix of peace, children will then never forget who they really are. They don't have to go anymore through this whole initiation, through this whole awakening process. So basically what we can do as mothers is transcend this whole idea that we need to awaken by never forgetting. We should never forget who we really are. And so this happens at the level of conception, at the level of us carrying the baby for 9 months and also bringing the baby into this world and raising it with already the level of awareness of who he or she is, so that she does not have to go through this awakening in order to remember. And that's why I am so passionate. That's why I will never stop talking about this. That's why I'm going to harass you more and more and more and more and more about this, because the writing is on the wall. It's so clear for me to see. And sometimes I do feel like I'm a crazy person, like I'm screaming this to a lot of you. Like sometimes it feels like that, right? Like I'm screaming to you, and I know maybe that's not the right approach, and I keep trying to figure out, okay, what is the right approach? How can I approach this? And I keep coming up with different ways, and I know I have to make it like attractive and not so scary and not so complicated, and then hopefully one day I will be able to do it. But I'm not going to become someone like Abraham Hicks, even though I love her teaching. I think it's amazing. She talks about the vortex, and I speak about the bliss box, because that's where I want you to go. I want you to enter the bliss box, which is 9D and 10D consciousness, because 9 plus 10 equals 1. 9 plus 10, 19. 1 plus 9 is 10. 1 plus 0 is 1. So we have to reach this high of a level in our minds in order to descend back to earth as the awakened one, as the mother on 5D. So I also understand the work that I have involved myself in, and the incredible depth and arduous work that needs to be done. But I can tell you from experience, first of all, this is the most exciting thing ever to be on. There is nothing more exciting than this. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how rich you are, what car you drive, how amazing you think, the 3D world is when you are in a position to manifest, because that doesn't exempt you from this dual nature of the universe. So if you are only focused on 3D, on self-actualization, like Abraham Maslow said in his hierarchy of needs, you're going to still be met with a lot of suffering. And that's the thing that I want to alleviate for us, so that we can actually create our 5D earth, to help you see that suffering happens only in 3D, but not in 5D. Because when you are connected to 5D, you operate from a state of joy. It will come with ease, not because things are easy, but because your perspective has changed, and you are going to be more willing to meet other people halfway, or listen to them even though they're different than you, or even they have ways about them that is not necessarily on your vibration or on your frequency, but you will no longer judge it as right or wrong. You will just allow people to be where they are, and so therefore you will also allow men to be where they are. You will allow the patriarchy to be what it is right now, but you will diligently work on yourself as a mother to becoming that 5D consciousness, because you realize that that is the master key. You are the master key. So once you unlock that door, and that door in your mind, and you step into the void and you come out descension as the 5D mom, there is really nothing you have to make happen. You are the happening. When people are in your vibration, when people come and enter in your field, and I notice it all the time, no matter where I am, grocery store, clothing store, I go to work, it doesn't matter where I am, people respond to me in a very positive way, just because I am all embracing. I don't judge people because they choose to sit where they sit in this 3D realm. I allow for them to be who they are, without me having to lower my vibration, because there is no expectation. And when there's no expectation, you will completely refocus back on yourself and start walking in your purpose. You will start asking yourself the questions: what do I want? How do I want to move in this world? What I want to create in this world? You will no longer be fighting against patriarchy, because you understand that patriarchy needs to be transformed in the matrix of peace. And when you can operate in the matrix of peace, how do you feel? You feel safe. You feel secure. And what will that do? It will allow you to tap into your creativity, into your imagination. So this is what Maya does most. Maya at her best is to create that distortion and distraction within you, so that you do not feel safe, that you do not feel secure, that you feel you are in a matrix that is out to get you. And so the divine feminine energy coaches right now, who are in transition, who are oscillating from spirituality 2.0 towards spirituality 3.0, they are having a really hard time with dealing with the dark feminine within themselves. And so they fall into the trap of always wanting to throw something else or someone else under the bus in order to justify their rise in the divine feminine energy. And it's going to take mothers like you and I, who are powerful enough to deal with those type of women, because we know that deep in their heart they're hurting, but they don't know how to crawl out of it. They don't know how to transform. And the difference between those women and someone like myself is because I ate the Dark Mother for breakfast. 6 impossible things before breakfast. We women have to become full because we have to understand who the Dark Mother is in the big picture of the conscious universe. The Dark Mother is gravity. The Dark Mother is what grounds you. The Dark Mother is what allows for our 3D physicality to appear. But the sacrifice we had to make for that was duality. We had to give up our non-dual state. We had to give up heaven in order to be on earth. And so now we're finally moving towards that final phase, which is not going to happen within a month or within a year. I'm talking about decades, maybe 100 years from now. So I am now creating something and bringing something now into our existence that maybe is only going to really fully take into effect 100 years from now. But my ego has already been informed and briefed by the Great Mother. And my ego is already okay with that. I've already surrendered. But that's because I am in a good place in my life. That's because I'm not struggling. That's because I'm not in survival mode. That's because I have already created this beautiful union between my husband and I. We've been married for 20 years. We are best friends. My life is good. If nothing would change right now in my life, if I would have to stop doing Fabulous One Philosophy, stop being online, stop being on the podcast, stop talking to you all together, my life would continue on to be beautiful. And I would then focus my time and energy on creating other beautiful things in my life because I'm already of the 5D state of mind. I consciously choose to do this. Yes, crazy, right? Shh. Tell me about it. my ego is also sometimes having a fit. Like, why are we doing this? Like, yes, we agreed. We agreed to do this. We said yes to the Great Mother. We promised. We made a promise to create the teaching. You can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink, right? So I know that. But deep in my heart, I'm very passionate about this. Because one day, my daughter is going to ask herself the existential questions. One day, she's going to ask herself who she is. She's a teenager now. She's 14. She's supposed to be, young, gullible, ignorant. And I expect her to do a lot of, not so smart things. But hopefully, because of who I am today, I will be able to help her and prevent her from making detrimental decisions that are going to change her timeline or create a timeline that is towards an end that is of no prosperity and no abundance. And, I am just trying my best in order to show her a different way, show her the way. That's why I'm such a fan of Taoism as a foundational teaching, minus the religion, of course. And I just mix and match and use whatever I feel serves my purpose in order to get the message across. Because I think that's what needs to happen. We look at all these different modalities created throughout time, and then we try to line up with the best one. I think that is the biggest mistake we are making, and we're making it also in our relationships and in the way we conduct our lives. But what we actually need to do is to look at all these different modalities created throughout times, from ancient philosophy until now, new psychology and philosophy work. And then instead of looking at what is the best teaching to line up with, do the opposite. What are the similarities? Because that's what I've done with Fabulous One Philosophy. I started to see very similar patterns in all the teachings, which made me draw the conclusion we might use different vehicles, but we're all going to the same place. There's no place like home. What was that saying? Rome? What was that saying about Rome wasn't built in a day? There was this saying, I have it in my book. I forgot about it now. But there was this saying of, we're all going home. We're all going to the same place. If you know, just let me know. Just write it in the comments to help remind me. But we use all these different vehicles, modalities, tools in order to take us to the same place. And everybody is discussing which vehicle is the best way to go to the same place. Which vehicles should we use? Which spiritual teaching should we use? Which religious teaching should we use? Which one is the best one? Which one is the one that the whole of humanity is going to adopt, right? And I don't think we have to do that at all. I think instead of arguing about the teaching and arguing about which teaching is best for all of us, why don't we collectively just decide what teaching is best for all of us and allow everybody else to choose their own vehicle? Because the focus should be on where we are going, which is home. We're all going to the same place. So who cares? Who cares if you use spirituality and I use philosophy and somebody else uses religion? If we all meet up at the same place, we come to the same conclusion, and we all embrace unconditional love, what does it matter how you got there? Why does it matter how you got there? That's spirituality 3.0. That's when you will have a total transformation. That's when you will reinstate 5D consciousness. And that's how you're going to operate with effortlessness. That's how you're going to operate in flow. Because judgment, no more. Judgment doesn't exist anymore in that realm, in that arena. You are now free to move as you please. Okay, I'm going to leave it here for today. I'm going to get some breakfast. I have some small things to do on the computer before I go to work. And yeah, talk to you next time. Bye-bye.